Hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors OxygenAddict.com, FueledByCake.com and SalfordTriathlon.com. I'm joined by the wonderful Helen Murray, who I believe has got legs sorer than possibly anybody else in the country this morning. Helen, how are you doing?
Rob, I'm broken this morning. I'm absolutely broken. Yeah, I don't think my legs, they can't be more sore than everybody in the country because... So mine are sore because I did a half marathon yesterday, which involved climbing up Snowdon. However, I wussed out. Yeah, I could have done a full marathon and a bit more, which involved Snowdon after about 19 miles. So I think the people who did that full marathon are probably more sore than I am. But yeah, I am absolutely broken because I did a nice little warm-up for this trail marathon.
Yeah. What was your warm-up for the trail marathon? Tell everybody.
It was a 50-mile time trial on a bike on Saturday. Some weird person thought it would be a really good idea to, smash the legs up a bit on Saturday, ready to run up Snowdon on Sunday.
I'm getting a lot of abuse for this on social media. I'd like to point out to all the readers and all the listeners who are on Twitter and Facebook, I'm getting abuse from Helen and from Helen's partner and from just about everybody we know. Who is a coach that's mental enough to do this? Helen, it was all your idea.
In what way?
It was all your idea, and if I remember correctly, you originally wanted to do a 50-mile time trial on the Saturday and then the full trail marathon on the Sunday, and I had to talk you down.
The original plan would have been, I would have loved to have done the full marathon, but kind of tapered properly for it and not had to go near a bike for probably 2 weeks either side. However, given that then there's a certain event at the end of August, which I kind of had my eye on, you said, Helen, it would be wise if you didn't do the marathon so then you can actually start training again quite soon after. So that's good, but I wasn't anticipating a nice little 50-mile warm-up on my bike the day before.
I was very impressed with your 50 actually. I've got to say, did you just go under 220 or were you just over 220?
It was 220 and 22 seconds, and I have never done a 50-mile time trial, and I know it's not kind of that quick compared to quite a few people.
Bloody hell it is.
Well,
that's
I don't know,
fair play to you, mate.
I can tell you something. I usually am quite good in a triathlon at eating on the bike or drinking. With this one, I really didn't have a clue, and I didn't know when you were meant to. And all I did was have about 4 sips out of my bottle of energy drink on the first lap of 3.
You muppet.
And
I don't know what to do, so I'll just keep my hands on the bars and keep riding hard. Was that essentially it?
That was it, and just hold on for dear life.
Right. So you could have gone under 220 then, had you not been such a muppet.
Maybe. So lessons learned for the next one. But it's a different world, isn't it? The world of time trial, the lingo is dig in. That's what they all come past. Those who have enough, breath to even mutter something rather than splutter spit out of their mouths will say, dig in. And, but then I did notice they all put gels up their shorts.
Really?
Yeah.
Gels up their shorts? Reminiscent of Bradley Wiggins?
Yes.
I'm presuming that's up the shorts legs and rather than a backwards application of gel.
Exactly. So that was my ridiculous weekend, and I should say that my fiance Rich also did both, so he is equally as smashed in terms of legs.
Oh, I've lost you, Helen. Hang on. Wait a minute. Where are you? You're back. You disappeared. Go on. Your fiance Rich.
So my fiance Rich is equally as smashed in terms of his legs because he also did both. So
oh, bless him. This is really cool actually because I took the family away in the camper van Friday, Saturday, and we camped in the campsite down in Thingamajig Valley. Is it not the Ogwen Valley? The one that the full trail marathon came through, and it actually came through the campsite. So as we were paddling in the river and going up and down in a canoe and stuff, the guys were setting the course out. So I was sitting there thinking, wow, it's a long way in the car from here up to the car park at the Thingamajig Llanberis Pass. It's a
Yeah.
long way from here in the car to there before you start going up. So
Oh my goodness. Let me just explain.
it's a
little
long
bit.
way, wasn't it? Yeah.
Wow. So this is an event run by Always Aim High. They're a company who put on the Sandman, the Slate Man, the Brutal. No, they don't do the Brutal. Sorry, Sandman, Slate Man, Snowman. Quite a lot of the big sportives in North Wales. And yeah, they certainly like to test their athletes. So this is the first time that they've ever had a trail marathon on Snowdon. So you could either do a marathon or you could do a half marathon. And if you look at the course profiles of both, they start off in Llanberis and you go up and you go up and you go up. And then the course divides, and at around mile 4, 5. So if you're doing the half, you take a left and you really go up. And if you're doing the full, you take a right and you carry on up to mile 19 and then you go up Snowdon.
Most of the way around Wales to get to the other side of Snowdon, isn't it? Yeah,
Correct.
it's quite a impressive. I'd love to do it. I was sitting there thinking, man, this is just beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful to sit there and have a barbecue, and imagine you guys running. So I think probably at the four hour point of the trail marathon, as you're faced with that enormous climb up Snowdon, it would be somewhat less beautiful. But
and also you have to consider that the weather on Sunday was absolutely grotty.
Oh, it was beastly, wasn't it?
It was horrendous, and you couldn't. Coming down Snowdon, so coming down from the top, there weren't that many people around me, and I was having to say to people walking up, am I going the right way? Because you just couldn't see anything. The visibility was that bad, and it was quite treacherous coming down, actually, because you come down the path near where the railway goes up. I can't think which one it is, but it's just a lot of loose slate and big slate stones as well, and they're so slippery.
Yeah,
and I was
deadly in the wet, isn't it?
I was so petrified of falling over, so I was absolutely pants at descending. And at one point I had been in the lead, and then I got overtaken by 2 women coming up to the summit, and then they just left me. Down at the bottom of Snowdon, I was in 3rd still, and then 2 more came absolutely flying past me, and another person came flying past me, but then there was a big lump towards the end, and I kind of just got ahead of her and then sprinted off in the last 400 metres, so I managed to finish in 5th.
You said, I'm having this.
I did.
A good effort for being in the lead, mate. That's really good. It's a real skill, isn't it? The technical descending, especially in the wet, and it's not always the fittest person wins. But nice to know that you were leading it. That's got to be a big feather in your cap, in your brain. That helps, I think.
Momentarily. And then I just can't ascend or descend. So, lumpy trail, fine. Big lumpy trail with mountains, not fine.
Yeah, God bless you. Right, well, there's been a crazy triathlon weekend as well this weekend, so let's get into our results from this weekend. It's been the 3 races we're going to concentrate on from the UK this weekend have been the Outlaw, Salford Triathlon, who are one of our sponsors, and Liverpool Triathlon. So we're going to start off with the Outlaw Triathlon, aren't we?
We are, because that is one of the biggest iron distance events, isn't it, in the UK, behind, I would say actually on a par with Ironman UK, and it doesn't have the Ironman brand, but heck, it is so well organised, isn't it, and a really, really popular race.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic race that's got its own little following, and I've been reading around on Facebook today, and the number of people who they're really embracing this as a brand, and there's loads of people having the Outlaw symbol tattooed on their legs and stuff as well, so they've really got that cult following. And from what I've read, the volunteers at this race have gone above and beyond the call of duty. Fair play to the organisers, but I think it's really the people who give up their time for free and really make the atmosphere of these races, and it sounds like it's been absolutely awesome. We'll get to some of those Facebook comments in a little while, I think, but first let's go through who the successful winners were. In the ladies' race, it was taken out by Jenny Latham from Red Venom, who snuck under 10 hours, which is blooming impressive on that course. 9:55.59 she's done.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, really impressive. Claire Shear-Simmons from Racetime Events in 2nd in 10:25, and Marie Jessen from Wootton Tri in 10:37 in 3rd place.
Absolutely brilliant racing there, and I think they were saying that Jenny and Claire were going into that one as the favourites, so it sort of stuck to the form book. And then the men's event they had quite a competitive lineup on that one, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they had the 5 previous winners on the starting line, didn't they? And it was taken out by Craig Twigg, who did 8:50.56, which I think is only a couple of minutes outside Joel Jameson's course record. From memory, I think he did an 8:47 the year he had that titanic battle with Hal Davis. Second place, Tom McGlashan in 9:08, and then Mark Livesey in 9:20 in third place.
Husband of Caroline
Livesey, yeah. So some fantastic racing there. Now over on Facebook, I put a little post up earlier on that says, anyone got a story to share? So we've got a few people there. June Jackson says, the marshals are amazing. What a top bunch of people who still cheered us sorry souls on when it was tipping down.
Yeah, and then Paul Dennett said that it was his first Outlaw, and he had used the tips that you gave on the podcast. He said that he took on the tip about hanging back at the start of the swim, and he had heard of the run-walk theory through the podcast, and he said he recorded a 4:11 marathon, which is awesome, isn't it? And he finished overall in 13 hours and 7 minutes, so well done, Paul.
Yeah, awesome. Well done, mate. Chris Hill says every marshal and feed station was brilliant. Couldn't have been any more helpful. Always ready with beaming smiles. Gotta love it.
Oh, it was brilliant. And Matt Brown said he had decided to stop after half the run, and 2 blokes tried to force him to stop and have a cuppa with them before giving up. And he said that his mind at that point was already made up, but he said that their enthusiasm was much appreciated.
John Paul Nelson says, I was really struggling on the bike with the wind and the rain, and I was really hungry too. Had to stop and stretch my legs on a feed station. The guys there helped me off, held my bike and changed my bottles like a pit crew. I mentioned I was starving, and they filled my pockets with flapjacks and apples and energy bars from their own lunch bags. They were so nice and supportive, isn't it just? Made me feel guilty about jacking it in. They got me on my bike and pushed me off and ordered me to move my arse. That's brilliant, isn't it? I don't think there's a better story to come out of a triathlon than that one.
They gave their food from their own lunch boxes. It is what you want, though, and volunteers absolutely make an event, don't they? Even yesterday when we were running up Snowdon, I thought in that driving rain, I did think, oh my word, I feel sorry for the people who have got the short straw here. They're halfway up a mountain in freezing cold conditions, like 40-mile-an-hour winds, and feeling like -1, and they're having to cheer people on. But heck, they did, and they really, really keep you going. Susan Bedford on Facebook says that it was her first iron distance triathlon for herself and her husband. And she says, to say it was a tough day is an understatement. The weather was awful, but it was made so much more bearable by the kindness and, as we've been saying, the enthusiasm of the fantastic volunteers. They were awesome. And she says, special mention for the 2 girls on the last cycle feed station that rubbed my hands to try to warm them up, and the man who gave me his gloves.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
and the last one here, Charlotte McTavish. I had a lovely marshal walk with me all along the banks on the other side of the river. I was freezing and soaked to the bone. He ran ahead to get me something to eat and then fashioned a bin liner raincoat for me.
Oh.
They really outdid themselves. The only thing that could have been better was a hot cup of soup. So I tell you what, if anyone's looking for an iron distance race next year, I think this is one of those ones that doesn't sell out quite as quickly as some of the crazy European Ironman branded ones do, but you definitely get the same sort of massive event feel at this race that you would do at one of the big European Ironman branded races. So I think it's great that this event is running in the country, and it's great there's some competition for the big Ironman brand out there. So let's keep it supported, and I hope to see this one keep on growing over the years. Really cool race, eh?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And as we've been saying, if the volunteers can make that much of an impact on people, then they're only going to go away with good memories, aren't they? Well, perhaps some horrendous, painful memories, but generally as a whole, you're going to get a good impression. If people apply, if people are helpful, if people try to keep you going when you're feeling absolutely dreadful, it can only get the thumbs up. And talking similarly of well supported and really good volunteers at events, we had a message on Twitter, we're at Cup of Tri, from Kelly Stokes, who said, big thumbs up to all the volunteers at races today. I did the hour try, and despite the rain they didn't stop smiling and cheering. So she said that that's Tri-Spirit Events, the Outlaw Tri. She said it was great, friendly and well organised.
Jolly good. Right, so moving on to the next big event in the country this weekend, Salford Triathlon up in Manchester, situated right in the heart of BBC Media Central. It was a beastly day up here for this, wasn't it? I think it started out all right, and then the weather really closed in about 11 o'clock and it started belting down and rained for the most of the rest of the day. So I've got the results up here, Hels. Have you got them as well, or shall I just go through them all?
I haven't got them, so you go through them.
All right, cool. In the standard Olympic distance race, in the female race, we had Sarah Jepson in 2:22, Hannah Bridger in 2:23.56, and Steph Barnes in third in 2:27. In the male standard distance Olympic race, Lucas Siska took it out in 1:59.52, which is scorchingly fast on that course. Andrew Horn in second in 2:03.59, and Tom Carson in third in 2:05.45. In the sprint race, males race was taken out by James Garner in 1:06.58. Second was Brendan Kennedy in 1:07.01, so 3 seconds between them. I wonder if that was a head-to-head sprint finish, if they're in the same wave. And in third place, Carlos de la Morena in 1:08.06. The female sprint race, Catherine Bancroft 1:13.37. Second was Sophie Whittingham in 1:17.38. And third was Kate Mills from Knutsford Tri Club. Good old Kate Mills.
Fantastic.
1:17.54. So she's only a few seconds back from second as well. So looks like a jolly good day was had by all over on Twitter. There was loads and loads of people raving about it. Katie Hewson said the girl did good. 7th overall in her first triathlon at Salford Triathlon. Smashed her 1 hour 40 target to 1 hour 23. Well done.
Rob, I tweeted a picture of something which was around the day before, which I thought might appeal to your bike geekness.
I saw that. Yeah. That's awesome.
So on the Friday, they had a big property triathlon, which was sponsored by a company called JLL, and they had made out of Lego a cyclist out of Lego on a bike. So I thought that was double geek for you. So if you look on our Twitter feed at Cup of Tri, there's a photo up there, and check it out. It appeals to Rob's geeky.
It's not just me, Helen. Any man born in the 70s, right? Bikes and Lego, you're onto a winner. You're onto.
Richard's the best thing ever.
I'm gonna use that photo as our photo for today. When I put the podcast up, and I might even try and Photoshop it so it says Oxygen Addict down the side, because the dude's wearing red, isn't he? If I only had the time. Oh man. So yeah, you've got to love that. So yeah, cool racing there in Salford. Right, next set of results was a Liverpool Triathlon, which was, now I'm going to try and get this right, was it the UK Elite Championships or British Elite Championships, or the UK Age Group Championships as well, wasn't it?
They had, yeah, it was, it sort of seemed to be a combination of everything. It was the second race in the 2015 British Triathlon Super Series. It was the National Championships, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit of everything. So they had elite races, they had standard races, they had sprint races. So there's a whole festival of triathlon going on in Liverpool. And apparently, again, this happened last year. There were jellyfish in the docks.
Was there really?
Yeah.
Jellyfish coming. Obviously, due to this warm weather we're having at the moment, isn't it? You're right. So from Liverpool, the age group results, the standard distance for the men. In first place, we had our buddy Alex Lawton, who we had in podcast number 11, I think.
Yep.
He took it out in 1:56.20. Scorching. He rode a 58.46 on the bike and ran 32 flat. That is unbelievable. Great work, Alex. Alex Foster in second place in 1:57. James Hockin in third in 1:58.09. So some great racing there in the ladies' race. Have you got those up? Do you want me to do them?
I think I could probably do the ladies' race.
You go, girl.
So it was Alice Jenkins who won in 2:09.29. Then Imogen Simmons second from Imperial Triathlon Club in 2:12. And then just following on behind her was Samantha Dean Howard from Mersey Triathlon Club, who did 2:14:43. We had a message from Grant Ormerod as well, Rob. He did the sprint, and he said it was dry for the standard but heavy rain and wind for the sprint. He said, I gladly took third overall. First and second were easily 13 years younger. So
good lad, Grant, doing it for the old man. Good on you. So the men's race was taken out by relative youngster Matthew Davison from JMCS Race Team in 1:02:30. Joseph Ricciardi from Manx Tri Club in second, 1:04:55, and the aforementioned Grant Ormerod from Tri Preston, 1:06:15 in third place.
Yeah,
well done, Grant.
In the women's, it was won by Sonia Spearing from Metropolitan Triathlon Club. Now, I'm sure I've been on a tri-camp with Sonia. That's awesome. She's
well done, Sonia.
Yeah, she's a very, very good swimmer, former water polo player. So well done, Sonia. Then Gwen Kinsey was second from Stroud, and Kirsten Cameron third from Edinburgh Triathletes in 1:14:45. So literally 40 seconds between first and third there. That's fantastic racing.
Crazy racing, isn't it? Really cool.
And I tell you, Rob, there was another really, really close finish in another race this weekend. Castle Howard. So this is the Castle Triathlon series. They had their race this weekend at Castle Howard. So it's a half iron distance. Sam Warriner won the women's race by 3 seconds ahead of Nikki Bartlett.
3 seconds?
3 seconds.
Whew, sprint finish?
It must have been a sprint finish, and I think Nikki said that she did a 1:24 run. She said she just felt absolutely fantastic and smashed it out on the run. But Sam won by honestly 3 seconds. Sam Warriner took it out in 4:48:16. Nikki 4:48:19. It was won by Brennan Townshend ahead of Colin Hill, and then third was Matt Jewis.
Wow. Good on you, Nikki Bartlett. Yeah. First ever interview on our fledgling little show, wasn't she?
Yes, she was. You can go back and listen to it.
There you go. Plug for the own show. She was the first that listened, so we'll have to get her back on and have a little chat with her and see how she's doing.
I think so, definitely. She's this is her first year racing pro. She's had some decent, solid results, and I think Sam Warriner must have said to her afterwards something like, you've got years ahead of you. You're going to develop and grow. So she certainly will.
Do you think Sam Warriner's over here for the summer? Is she over here hanging out for the summer? She's raced 4 or 5 times now, hasn't she?
She's doing Dublin 7.3, which is in 2 weeks' time.
So she did Stafford. She raced at Cholmondeley Castle and got just narrowly beaten by Lucy Gossage there.
Yeah, she's done Howard.
Did she race Ironman UK? She didn't, did she?
No, I don't think so.
I wonder whether she was on the start list and didn't end up racing.
I think you might be right.
I think we should try and track her down. If anyone knows Sam Warriner, somebody in the UK triathlon community must know Sam Warriner. She must be over here hanging out with triathletes and training. Put her on to us and let's get an interview with her while she's over. She's one of the original legends of triathlon, isn't she?
Yeah.
Cool stuff. I'll tell you what else we can cover before we finish our results bit. It was Ironman Lake Placid over in the USA this weekend, and there's hardly any news about it because there wasn't a pro purse, so no pros raced.
No, but isn't that one of the Ironman events which has sort of been set aside and taken away the pro purse, and therefore no one would turn up, would they? For a pro wise, if there's no money on the line.
It's pretty cool that age groupers get to win the race overall, isn't it? But it's very sad, I think, that there's no sort of... I don't know, I think that's a kind of sad thing. If they start taking away pro money from some of the races, then they'll start taking away Kona slots from some of the races, and all of a sudden what's going to happen? And especially because Lake Placid used to be, back in the day, I can say this, Helen, because I'm an oldie and you're a youngster, it was like the original Ironman USA. When there were only 1 or 2 races in the USA, it was the first one there, and it was billing as Ironman USA in Lake Placid, and for it to lose its pro purse is kind of a bit sad, really.
How do you think? I mean, they must look at it and just look at money, mustn't they, and which ones are making money for them. That's pretty much, I'm sure, what they'd go on. And
No, it's a massive race though. They get massive fields.
That one, not to, to scrap the pros from that one.
I don't know. I do not know. It can't be because it's too close to Kona, because it's only mid-July, isn't it? So maybe they're trying to force the pros to race at certain races, and therefore they're going to move it around different year to year. I don't know. No. I still think it's sad. It's kind of like turning your back on your old best mate, isn't it, when you get famous? Oh man. Right, well, here's a guy who knows a thing or two about Ironman racing. An American chap called James Lawrence, who you'll remember I mentioned 49 days ago on the podcast. Do you remember what this guy was mentioned for?
James Lawrence.
The Iron Cowboy. We mentioned him 49 days ago. His plan was to do 50 Ironmans.
Sorry, that's the...
Oh, phone's ringing in the background.
Oh, no.
I'll let you answer it. Go on. They'll ring back.
Right, it's all good.
So, James Lawrence, right? 50 Ironman races in 50 days, which is pretty full on.
Yeah.
In 50 different states. So he's not done it day after day in the same place.
Yeah.
He's had to travel around the USA from day to day to get this done. And you got to go and check it out, Helen, theironcowboy.com.
Okay.
There's some great... He's all over social media at the minute. He's on things like news.com and things like that today. He's just completed his 50th Ironman. And he's managed to actually do it. But isn't that just mental?
Is it the fact that it's between different states?
Yeah, move to a different state every single day. And the other crazy thing about this is he's got 5 kids. So he's not like a young dude doing this.
He hasn't seen them, has he?
Well, I'd be really interested in talking to this guy. He's done it to highlight the obesity problem. We've got a massive epidemic in this country of obesity. He's raising money for Jamie Oliver, bizarrely, even though this guy is American. Jamie Oliver's foundation must be taking off in America.
Yeah.
And the guy says, and I quote, "It's for my children. Everything I do for them. I try to set examples for them. I try to set big goals and accomplish them. I want to be around for them as long as I can, and this is my motivation to get up and do those things." So, I mean, fair play to the man. That is a big goal to set, and it's a big thing to accomplish. When you think about, we were in awe of Deca Dave trying to do 30 and 30. To do a self-supported 50 and 50 is pretty unbelievable. So fair play to him. Like I said, it'd be interesting to know whether his family travelled with him and whether he saw them here and there and stuff, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at it now and I'm thinking, surely he can't have seen his children for almost 2 months, because even if they were travelling around with him, he would be that delirious at the end of every day that you wouldn't exactly get a load of sense out of him, would you?
You do not know, do you?
No.
I'll tell you what, he's rocking a serious pair of biceps on him though, isn't he? And a serious beard. It's let's ask your opinion on this, Helen, as a lady.
Yeah.
And you are a lady.
Yeah.
What's your take on endurance athletes with beards? Is it something of things that don't quite match? What's your take on this?
Oh dear. Right. I imagine, now this is just my own opinion here, it might be wrong, whatever. I imagine facial hair and beards more on ultra runners.
Yeah.
More a sort of Ironman, long distance triathletes, I imagine less with facial hair, purely because, if they're going to shave their legs, then quite frankly, they're probably going to shave their face too, aren't they?
You'd think he's got to have some serious beard rash going on in his armpits and shoulders, wouldn't you?
Yes.
After a journey like this.
Yeah. So
serious beard rash.
Maybe
it's interesting here, because in the film that it shows of him starting, well, I guess he was fundraising for it to start with to afford to be able to do it. He's got a very short, neatly trimmed hair and short, neatly trimmed beard. And then this photo of him finishing yesterday, he's got about 3% body fat, and he's got a beard on him that looks like Tom Hanks at the end of that Castaway film.
Yeah. But surely let's sort of think of energy and saving time when, if you're doing an Ironman every day for 50 days,
you ain't going to be shaving.
You're not, are you? You're going to be eating or sleeping.
But not shaving.
Yeah.
So I doff my not cowboy hat to you, Mr. Iron Cowboy. That is quite an achievement. 50 and 50. It's surely only a matter of time before somebody decides they're going to try and do 100 and 100, isn't it now?
The thing is, I was going to say, what's he going to do next? Because he is going to have one massive hole in his life, isn't he?
He certainly is. Poof.
Oh, yeah.
Let's try and track him down. That's a pretty amazing story.
Picture now when he has a sort of buff around his hair and he looks a little bit ill, I think.
Well, you'd imagine he's pretty undernourished by the end of 50 and 50. How on earth do you go about taking in the calories just to stay alive? It's wow.
Oh.
Good work, that man. Good work.
Absolutely, hats off to him. Well done.
Absolutely. Right, and that, my friends, I tell you what, we're just going to finish with a quick coach's couch before we finish today.
How do you recover, Rob, from doing a 50-mile time trial and a half marathon up a mountain?
Helen, you are going to rest up today and then you're going to go back to normal training. That's what you're going to do.
Fantastic.
We're going to ease you in. Now, I tell you what, we're going to do a coach's couch today on the joys of turbo training. So I've got a couple of questions. I know, a couple of questions through from people who are just getting into the sport and saying, look, I've got this turbo and I don't really know how to make sense of it. So I've got a quick top 5 here for if you're getting into turbo training. Okay. The first thing about turbo training is if you're going to get yourself properly working on this, try and find a place to get it set up. Have you got a turbo den in your house, Helen?
Yep, I do. It's the conservatory, so it doesn't really happen in the summer. But in the winter, nice and cold.
Well, you've got to have a place where you can keep it set up all the time, because turbo training's big benefit is you can get 30 minutes of training in a 32-minute window, with a minute to get on the bike and a minute to get off at the end. So if you can keep the bike set up on the turbo somewhere, if it's in a spare room or a garage, then you're good to go. The second thing about it is, as Helen has found out in the conservatory, you're going to get really hot on the best of days, aren't you, Helen?
Yeah, very, very, very hot. Yes, towels and lots of water.
Towels and lots of water, and the most important thing that you still haven't sorted out is a fan.
Yep.
That's my most important top tip here. If you can train without a top on for the men, and for the women if you're just in a sports bra, try and get as much skin available on your back, and then get this fan set up so it's on a table or something behind you and it's blowing across that big area of skin on your back, and that's going to do a massive job about keeping you cool. You're going to sweat anyway, but just having the fan blowing across you is going to try and keep you nice and cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Helen?
Yes.
You're gonna say yes, but you don't know because you still haven't bought yourself one, have you?
I don't have a fan, and I just get very, very, very hot on the turbo. But yeah.
I'm going to write down here, buy Helen a fan for your wedding. That's what I'm going to buy you.
That would be most welcome.
It's not going to be off the list, Helen, but I'm going off the list. Right, the third one, you've already mentioned it. Hydrate and salt yourself. So you're going to lose a lot of water anyway. I recommend one 750 milliliter bottle for every 45 minutes that you're on the turbo, and 2 salt tablets. So you've got to replace that water, but you've also got to replace the salt that's going to come out with it. And a lot of people don't realise, Hells, that salt gets used to transport water through your skin. That's where it all goes. There's a clever little turnstile thing happens in your skin, and the water uses the salt as like a little token to, you're at Alton Towers.
Yeah.
When you're queuing up to get through that little turnstile, the water's going to use the little piece of salt as its key to get through the door. So with every bit of water that comes out, some salt comes out with it, and you're also going to need that salt to stop your muscles cramping up. So that's why you're going to get cramp late into a turbo session if you've not been taking those salt tablets in as well.
That's really interesting, because I've yet to use salt tablets. I guess quite often if I get in after, I don't know, being out, I will automatically go to the cupboard and get out lightly salted rice cakes and the peanut butter.
Yeah, there you go. Well, they're a really good whole food alternative.
Yeah.
If you haven't got those set up, obviously salt tabs are the cheat's way forward, and I am the biggest cheat in the world. But Helen's Organic Way is great as well. Tip number 4 is to have a plan. Have a plan of exactly what you're doing. If you're going to get on the turbo without really knowing what you're doing, you're going to get off again in 10 minutes because you'll be bored. So have a plan, write the plan out and follow the plan. Whatever that plan is, stick to it and commit to doing it. Even if it's only a 20-minute session, have something written out on a scrap of paper. This is what I'm going to do. And even if it's as simple as 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy times 5, set your stopwatch going and follow that session. Make sure you get it done. And that way you've got an extra little reason in your head to keep going when your brain says, stop, this is stupid, I'm hot and I'm uncomfortable and I want to go and watch the telly.
Definitely.
And the fifth one is how to finish the session. I picked this one up from years of living with an increasingly upset Mrs. Wilby. Finish the session by packing your stuff away and making the area as neat as possible. I used to keep my bike on its turbo, but have it set up in the spare bedroom behind this bed settee thing that we had. And so at the end of the day, if I went in the shower and left the spare room looking like a complete tip, she'd come in and go mental. And understandably so.
Yeah.
If I pushed the bike back up against the wall and pushed the sofa bed back up against the bike, the 30 seconds I spent there kind of just doing that little bit of tidying meant that she didn't really realise any training had ever actually gone on.
Secret
and the spare bedroom. Secret training, yeah. And, you know, we only have a certain number of spousal annoyance points in a week to use up, don't we? And if you use them up on training, you're not going to get away. You just get bollocked later on for having left your shoes out somewhere. Or so to keep the other half sweet by doing that. Have the plan, do the plan, finish the plan, tidy the plan away, and life moves on.
I think there's some really, really good tips there. Can I add just one, which is...
Yeah, do it. Go on.
My only other tip is if you're struggling with motivation, then just get some good music, which, you know, imagine yourself in a spin class. You wouldn't have a spin class without music. So
dead right.
I think that can really, really help.
Dead right. Helen, what's your favourite band for playing along to a turbo session with?
Okay, so I really like Calvin Harris for running and turboing. I really like
it. Bit of trance.
Yep.
I like it.
Black Eyed Peas, I find them really good as well.
I can't do that.
No, only for turboing. Only for turboing.
No, too much of a tool. I can't be dealing with him.
And then I like anything Latino, so Manu Chao gets my vote as well.
Jolly good.
Heard of him, but Google him. And,
yeah. You have to send me it through and I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to have to finish, aren't we? We are on a time deadline here. It's been great talking to you, mate. I hope your legs continue to recover over the coming week. I'm sure they will.
Thank you very much. Let's hope
Are you coming out tonight to listen to You Know Who?
Yes, I am.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that next week. I might have a bit of a plan and we might be able to combine two things. Right, I'll see you later on then. That'll be cool.
Okay, fantastic.
For everyone,
happy training, happy racing, and well done. And if you race this weekend in the horrible wind, rain, freezing temperatures, seriously, big pat on the head, and just think, it can't be worse next time.
It can't get any worse than it did this weekend. You get a big pat on the head from Helen.
Yeah, take a nice pat and take confidence from that. Definitely take confidence from it.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're one of the guys who's, especially if you've completed the Outlaw in the weather that you faced this weekend, fair play to you. An iron distance race is tough enough without facing those kind of conditions, and very, very impressive performances from all of you. So give yourselves a big pat on the head from Helen and me.
Oh yeah, it's pat on the back, isn't it?
No, pat on the head from now on, Helen. It's a pat on the head. Helen's pat on the head.
Oh my goodness. I was just going to say, as ever, if you want to get in touch with us, you can. We're at Cup of Tri on Twitter, and you can always email any questions for Coach's Couch, which is Coach
Rob Wilby at oxygenaddict.com.
There we go. Thank you very much for listening, and we will be back next week.
We will indeed. You've been listening to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. We're sponsored by oxygenaddict.com, fueledbycake.com, and the salfordtriathlon.com. I hope you have a great training and racing week, and until next week, I am Coach Rob Wilby.
And I'm Helen Murray.
And you've been listening to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. Have a great week, and we'll speak to you again soon. Cheers now.